Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Giselle and Eli Ben-Dor radio station located here at JNF's Alexander Mos High School in Israel, here in Hod HaSharon, Israel. We're going to try something new today, Jake. What do you say?
I think it sounds like a good idea. Today we are doing the first edition of what we call Sinai Says. This is the daily version of the Torah that we're going to be talking about, doing a little bit of discussion on, and just trying to better understand.
Yes, that's right. So we're not sure of the name. We're calling it Sinai Says for now. But we actually want to invite all of our listeners out there to suggest some other sort of name. What we're looking to do here is have potentially a daily sort of 5 to 10 minute learning opportunity to discuss Jewish values, Zionism, what's happening in Israel today, and the likes. So that's what we're going to be doing for now. We'll call it Sinai Says until further notice. And again, we welcome you all to suggest additional names as we want to kind of have an opportunity to discuss values here coming out of the Alexander Mos High School in Israel. The person we chose to discuss today is a renowned rabbi of blessed memory, the Chafetz Chaim, also known as Israel Meir Kagan, born in 1838, died in 1933.
Wow, that's a very long life.
It is. He did much. He was a posek. He was a leader in the area of Jewish law and legal questions and answers, a halachist, as well as one of the leaders of the Musar movement. Which kind of focused on ethics and values and how we treat ourselves, how we treat one another. And one of the publications he came out with was his Shiur Yomi, the Chafetz Chaim's Shiur Yomi, which means in Hebrew daily learning, similar to what we know in the Talmud world of Daf Yomi. So he does the Shiur Yomi based on the actual Jewish calendar date. So Jake, let me ask you: do you know what the Jewish calendar date is today?
I actually do not. I have not checked. I apologize.
A nice Jewish boy from Tampa.
Yeah,
that's okay.
I usually try and keep up, but unfortunately I've forgotten. It's hard enough to keep the Gregorian calendar, let alone the Jewish calendar.
Gregorian calendar, indeed. So let me tell you, you want to know what it is?
Absolutely.
Today is the second day of Sivan. It's a new month. We're in day 2 of the month of Sivan.
All right.
The year. Okay, so we're going to just jump right into this and not waste any of your time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read it in Hebrew, sort of line by line here and there, and try to translate some of the basic aspects of it. And we're going to try to hopefully be able to shed some light on whatever it is that the Chafetz Chaim wants to share with us and with our listeners out there.
Okay, that sounds pretty good.
Fantastic. So he talks a lot about, lashon hara, which is basically, speaking ill of people, and how do we avoid that? So we're going to jump right into this, and he starts, be'ein derech acheret, where there is no other choice. He says, אם לאחר שהקדיש מחשבה מרובה לעניין, מורה מגיע למסקנה שתלמיד מסוים סובל מבעיה לימודית או התנהגותית, והוא משוכנע שאי אפשר לטפל בבעיה ללא התערבות מנהל. So he talks about a situation where an educator, we are an academic institution here,
indeed, yes,
where an educator may have a problem or a challenge and has come to the realization that a particular student is challenged from either a learning disability or obstacle, or perhaps itnahudit, the way this student may be acting in class, maybe acting out. So whether it's an academic challenge, or maybe a social challenge, or maybe it's a challenge in following the rules of the class, and the teacher here, the Chafetz Chaim discusses, the teacher comes to realize that there is no other way around this than involving the menahel, the head of school, the principal.
Okay.
So he continues and says, חבריו בצוות המורים או הורי התלמיד, כי אז עליו לדבר ללא דיחוי עם הגורם הנדרש. So he says, he comes to realize, the teacher that is, that there is no other way around this other than bringing in and getting involved with the principal, the staff of educators, חברת צוות המורים, or perhaps even the parents of the child, because when it comes to this situation, the Chafetz Chaim said there is no delaying on taking action where a student is having a challenge in the classroom.
Absolutely, yeah.
Were you challenged in the classroom?
I actually was not. I definitely am one of those who very much like to learn. I was not always I'm still not the most social of people, but I definitely paid attention in class, maybe a little bit more intently than others, and I enjoyed learning.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because it seems that you and I are the exact opposite when it came to that, because I was not a good student in school.
Really?
You believe that?
I have a very hard time considering where you are now. Yes, actually.
Yeah, that's the whole point, right? Is that you never ever give up, even though you may be standing, pardon me, in front of obstacles in life. I was not a good student. I did not enjoy school. I couldn't sit there and listen and watch the teacher's mouth, open and close for over an hour. I much preferred going out and playing basketball, doing whatever it is that kids want to do, as opposed to sitting in the classroom. So I was probably one of these kids that the Chafetz Chaim is referring to.
Mm-hmm.
I preferred to be the social one and not the learned one. But later on in life, of course, I realized that once I found what my passion was, I was able to get involved educationally, academically, and then get into that learning part. Excuse me. So he continues to say, the Chafetz Chaim, about a child who has such a challenge, whether it's academic or a learning challenge or a social challenge, or just can't sit still in class, kind of like me. He complains and says, he continues, and says that דבר זה קשה במיוחד כשהתלמיד המדובר מרבה להפריע להכעיס את המורה. This is extremely difficult, the Chafetz Chaim says, especially to deal with when the child is also, or the student is also, someone that is actually bringing angst to the teacher. Because I know that I was not an easy student, and that I definitely was challenging to teach. And I can imagine there were teachers that wondered when they went home, gosh, I wish this kid, Leor Sinai was not in my class. I hope not that was the case. But, they are human beings after all.
Yes, absolutely.
So he says, the Chafetz Chaim, this is even more difficult when this is a child that is disruptive in class and kind of gets under the skin of the teacher.
Yes, that's definitely something I can understand. Why I was never that student. I had classmates who definitely were more irritating, and it's sort of, I say irritating like that, but it was harder for them. They weren't as interested. I feel like that's definitely the thing that really detracts from that the most, so that students aren't interested. And these same students, some of them would hate one class and love another class and totally pay attention in that class.
And I was that student, indeed.
Which class did you like the most then?
I loved history, disliked math, science. I liked earth science. I didn't like chemistry. I didn't like the numbers. The numbers kind of confuse me. My eyes go cross.
A lot of people definitely feel that way, yes.
So maybe some of you out there can identify with my challenge, or perhaps with Jake's love of learning.
Yes, hopefully it's something that definitely, we're not trying to ostracize somebody who is in class, but...
God forbid. But we definitely maybe think, maybe the middle path is the best path between being totally entrenched in learning and maybe being someone who is also wanting to be out there and, I don't know, free falling.
I definitely agree with that. I'm not saying, it's good to devote yourself to your studies, but there's definitely, one of the things I definitely need to, if I went back in time and would tell myself one thing, is that there's more to life than school and being in school and learning things.
That's right. So we'll continue here with just the last portion of what the Chafetz Chaim here explains, and he says, "Kechol she'eksheh hadavar," all considering how difficult this will be with the student, al lamorim larot behitnagut hatalmidim pgiya ishit. It is forbidden upon the educator, irrespective of how much this student may get under an educator or teacher's skin, irrespective of how disruptive this student may be in the classroom, and irrespective of how less inclined this student is to sitting in the classroom and learning. So he says, the Chafetz Chaim, all the more so, it is forbidden for a teacher to show in his or her expression, in his or her dealings with the student body and the students in the classroom, in order to avoid a personal affliction, making the student feel bad about him or herself. Right? It's a very difficult balance to walk, because we are human beings, and we have our natural instinct, which often want to react in a certain way. But if we take a step back, the Chafetz Chaim explains that this child needs to be, I don't want to say dealt with, but I do want to say kind of taken care of in a kind of way that enables the student to maybe even consider themselves as an individual, and maybe even discover that they have a certain challenge or an obstacle they must overcome. But that learning is for everyone. Really, learning is for everyone, and I learned that also later on in my life as a student, and later on in college and graduate school, of course. And he continues here to say, "במרבית המקרים, in most of these instances, אותו תלמיד מפריע אינו נלחם נגד המורה." He says in many of these instances, actually, that same student that is a disruptive student in the classroom is not necessarily fighting or battling against the teacher. It's not that this student has it out for the teacher per se, and is being disruptive in the classroom or not interested in learning because of the teacher in all cases. Maybe in some cases, but not in all cases, is what the Chafetz Chaim says. And what he continues to say is, הוא נתון במאבק פנימי עם עצמו אל מול אתגרי החיים. This is interesting, and this is very musar of the Chafetz Chaim, talking about values and our mapping in life. He says, it's very probable that this struggle that this student is going through is not against the teacher, perhaps, or maybe even the actual class or subject, but maybe it's an internal struggle with him or herself in front of, vis-a-vis, the challenges of life.
Yes.
Because life is challenging.
Absolutely.
And not everyone is born with or automatically has those tools internally available to overcome these challenges in life. So the Chafetz Chaim says something very nice here. He says, it is very, very important that a teacher, an educator that identifies a student who is being disruptive in the classroom or having challenges to learn, not take that personally, because perhaps it's not about the student acting out against the teacher or the class, but maybe it's actually the student having this internal struggle as a student grows. And today, we are adults today. I'm maybe a little bit older than you, but you're an adult and you've been through your challenges in life. And maybe it's the realization and helping the student realize that the challenges we have in life are meant for us individually.
Yes.
Your challenges were meant for you. And you overcame those challenges, and you'll continue to, because you recognize the challenges that are given to us, that are sent to us, that are part of our internal struggle and our daily sort of routine. They're not meant to trip us up. They're not meant to allow us to fail. They're actually meant to allow us to grow and to learn. And then, of course, ultimately to overcome these challenges. And I think this is the message that we're getting from the Chafetz Chaim, is that each and every one of us has a blueprint. Each and every one of us has the struggles that are in our life that are meant for us. Your struggles are your struggles, and my struggles are my struggles. Whether it was as a student that didn't want to learn, and for you it was a student that did want to learn. But they're each meant for our own sort of life's path in order to become better and fuller people. Last